Youth development on Football Manager, it's a labor of love. Now, wouldn't you like it if your youth academy stopped producing Nugents like this and started giving you Nugents like that? Yes, on today's show, we are going to revisit our Porto development diaries and we're going to take a look at what's happened, and I'm going to share with you a few things that I found out. Long-time supporters of this channel are probably familiar with the training diaries. We've done it with Porto a few times in different versions of Football Manager, and we continue doing that on Football Manager 23. Why do it with Porto and not some lower league club? Well, it's really simple. In order for you to get those Nugents coming through your club, those 5-star Nugents, first you need to raise the standards of that club so that you are able to attract those kind of players into your club. And we pick Porto because Porto is already at a level where their facilities are good enough. They have the proper infrastructure, and we don't need to spend 7 seasons with a lower league club just getting them to that point. But what if you were a lower league club and you wanted to get to that Porto level? It's not hard. Let me explain what you need to do. First, let's talk about the nation you start your save in. Every single nation has got a youth rating, right? So some can be high, some can be low. This just reflects the potential of producing quality Nugents in that country. Some countries like England have a high youth rating. Some countries like Singapore have a low youth rating. What this literally means is the potential of producing quality Nugents is lower in Singapore than it is in England. Now, this means that for countries like Singapore, they need to invest more into their youth facilities in order for them to increase the chance of producing quality Nugents. Whereas in the case of countries with high youth ratings, well, even some clubs with poor facilities, on rare occasions, they might produce a quality Nugent. When you go into the game, every club has a value for their youth coach ratings and their youth facility ratings. These are important values because you need these values to be high enough for you to start producing quality Nugent players. And this means that you are spending time throughout the course of your save improving your facilities, improving your youth coaches. These two are the most important drivers at producing quality Nugents. Youth coaches affect players who are under 16 and younger. So when you have a higher rating here, it literally means that you're getting better quality coaches. Maybe if you've got a rating of 20, your coaches are at the cutting edge. They know all the latest techniques. When you get a coach rating of 1, then maybe, you got Mickey Mouse as your youth coach. So don't expect the best. I'm sure everybody has their own unique approaches to this game. I, for example, don't really start a youth development focus save until I get my youth facilities and my youth coaching up to a level of 13 minimum, and that's when I start focusing on youth facilities. Meanwhile, until I get to that value, my training facilities, I'm making sure my training facilities are continually being upgraded because the training facilities affect every single visible player in the club. So those facilities are my focus until I'm financially in a good position to invest in youth development. What about youth recruitment? Well, I don't think youth recruitment plays as big a role as facilities and coaching, because youth recruitment is about attracting players to your academy. If your club is at a youth recruitment level of 1, then consider this. The only players that come into your club are the ones in the neighborhood of your club. And then as youth recruitment numbers increase, think of these as concentric circles that are building outwards. Once you hit 20, you're talking about worldwide recruitment. And as you bring those circles in, you're getting closer and closer geographically to your own club. This is my approach to youth development, and it's produced some very interesting results. Now, here, for example, is a player from Singapore that emerged in my academy. A player from Singapore emerging in an academy in Portugal. And what are the odds of this happening? This points to another influence that impacts youth recruitment, and that is the nationality of your coaches. If you see through the youth coaches in my club and their nationalities, the only one that could have impacted this arrival would have been the personality of its coach. Head coach would have been me because my nationality is Singaporean. So this is the only reason why we have a Singaporean in the club. The odds of that happening are remote, but it's happened in the game. When it comes to the coaches themselves, You've got to think of them as one group. The head of youth development, he's the head honcho. He sits on top of a group of youth coaches tasked with the responsibility of bringing the youth through the system. While the personality of the head of youth development undoubtedly affects outliers in the game, we cannot ignore the personality of all the other coaches in the youth setup because they are one group. And that approach has allowed me to affect the personality of the intakes that Porto now has. So one of the first things I did when I took over at the club was to fire all the youth coaches. And I went out to hire all youth coaches with either model citizen, perfectionist, or resolute personalities. The reason was very simple. I wanted the right kind of personalities coming into the club, regardless of their potential ability. Why? Having the right personalities makes it easier for us to develop youth players. Because if they already got those personalities, then I don't have to worry about mentoring them. Rodrigo Pinheiro has been our love story with our Porto save. Now, he popped up in the B team. I took some notice of him then because he was generating some decent numbers. So we decided to promote him to the senior team. And his progress in terms of training has been stellar because this was before he joined the main team, right? So he started playing for us about somewhere around here, and then he started improving all the way. In terms of his attributes, some growth, I won't say stellar, it's not bad. I'm very happy. But in terms of his performances, they've been second to none. Considering our low bar here in terms of fullbacks. Then another outstanding player was this player, Jojo Abushuli. Now, the thing about him, I didn't even notice him. He was in the B squad as well. And then he only played 2 games for us last season. Yeah, 2 games to the main team. You can see here he's now has had 1 appearance in the Champions League. But we're only in July, right? So in terms of his progress, here's another player who's just shot up. The moment I started playing him, his progression started to improve, which reinforces the point. If you don't play them, they don't progress. So you can see his development in terms of attributes has also been quite decent in the space of a season and a half. So this is a progression that I was after, and we've got him improving. The challenge youth development is game time, giving them the right amount of game time. A player above the age of 21, it's fine. You're playing 2 games a week. It's okay. He'll be able to handle it, right? He's still developed. But below the age of 21, they also need to spend some time training. So sometimes when you bring players in too early, you can also negatively impact their development. So it's very important not to overplay them too much. An example would be Gabriel Veron. Now here with this player, this guy is actually a wonder kid, but I have not developed him properly. This is a mess because his development is so, stop-start. I can't describe it. Thank God it's not a stock market chart. But looking in terms of his attributes as well, not that fantastic. So when these kind of things can happen if you overplay a player or you keep changing his position on the pitch. The guy gets inconsistent numbers. Looking at his performances, you can see it from his form. Look at this: 6.3, 6.7, 7.5, 9.0, 6.4. Sometimes it's 6.6. So sometimes I play him as an inside forward, advanced forward, inside forward, winger, advanced forward, inside forward. The poor lad has been played all over the place. I've not been a good coach for him. So we have to manage their game time really well in order for them to develop effectively. When it comes to training, I'm very focused on developing my players. Now, I spend a lot of time tracking their DNA because I want a certain kind of DNA in all my clubs. And this refers to footballing intelligence. I want my players to have a good dose of anticipation and concentration. It's vital for both defensive players and offensive players. Offensive players need these attributes in order for them to be aware of what's happening around them. Defensive players need anticipation and concentration because they need to be able to read the play as well as to pay attention to what's happening. So I actually tailor my training to improve these attributes. What I normally do is I have a threshold. For anticipation and concentration, my threshold is 11. For defenders, it might be a bit higher, but for most players, the threshold will be around 11. And the training is actually surprisingly simple. For all roles, I will pick roles that have got concentration in them. So here we got João Pereira. When it comes to training, if you look at the fullback attack, crossing, dribbling, first touch, marking, passing, tackling, technique, and then we've got composure, concentration, and decisions. Right. So this work on these attributes. Then I work on the weaker ones with additional focus. Here we've got agility and balance. So all fullbacks and wingbacks, they can be wingbacks, they can be fullbacks, they be working on those attributes. Now here we've got another example. Here we've got a youth player. His name is Juan Carlos Carabali. Look at his concentration. It's already 11. I'm actually kind of happy with his concentration numbers. So he works on halfback development. So he goes and trains as a halfback. You can see here his halfback also has concentration. So he's working on fewer attributes, right? So these are going to focus primarily on him doing these roles. So once they get the key attributes up to about 10 or 11, we will shift him to something else, especially one that's got technique development. So we might move him to technique eventually, and that will be passing, because passing works on vision, passing, and technique. How long do I leave additional focus training for? Usually additional focus training, 6 months is enough, right? Once they get the points, I move them off that additional focus training onto something else. All central midfielders all train ball-winning midfielder on support, because this is the only training schedule that improves concentration. Here we've got Christopher Bell, the future of the club. He's working on these attributes, ball-winning midfielder on support. Once his concentration hits 11 or 12, he's going to drop this, and then we will shift him to what I want him to do. I want him to be a very creative force pushing forward. So he's going to start working as a training as a Mazzala, or he'll be training as an attacking playmaker. What about inside forwards? Now I want to shout out 3-1 as well. He popped into my stream. We were talking about training, and I was going to be training one of my inside forwards, and he mentioned to me that Raumdouters actually have concentration as one of the attributes that they trained it. And yes, all my inside forwards are training to be Raumdouters. Doesn't matter whether they become Raumdouters or not, but the very fact is they're all going to be working on the concentration attribute. I want all of them to have a decent amount of concentration, because there's nothing worse than playing a ball out to a winger or an inside forward, and he's not even aware that there's a ball coming in his direction, because he can be very annoying, because I am the sort of person that likes quick breakaways. And if my wingers are not paying attention, then what's the point of playing this game? As you can see, our first season was fantastic. We did really well. We were 3-0 down here to Barcelona. Here you can see this was our first leg match against Barcelona in the Champions League. I was really disappointed with Manafa throughout our campaign. And after this game, he stopped being on our call sheet. He was never again on our team list. Whenever we went out to play games, we removed him completely. We were 2-0 down, then we were 3-0 down. At this point, after the 3-0 mark, I decided to take Manafa off the pitch because he was just useless. We removed him. I brought on Sanusi. We started playing a lot better. We managed to pull goals back, with 2 goals back. Ivan Nilsson's attempt was buried to the feet of Franco. We scored 1 goal and then quickly put enough pressure on their build-up play to nick the ball off them. Pepe coming inside, squaring it for Gabriel Veron, who made it 2. So we fought back from a 3-0 deficit to add 2 goals. And then the second leg was a masterclass of finishing from Ivan Nilsson. This was such a good game because Zaidu Fainusi, now playing as the left back, opened the goal scoring with a greatly taken goal inside the first 5 minutes. Then Franco playing a free kick, and then on a quick breakaway, Veron turning, finding Ivan Nilsson, beating the defenders, making it 3 inside the first half. And then in the second half, Pinheiro, the youngster, right, the one we promoted from the academy, creating that goal. Defensively, we were solid. Ivan Nilsson added the 5th goal, and we were through to the finals of the Champions League. Yes, where we defeated Inter 4-2. We're using Galileo with the senior team, and in case you're wondering, yeah, Ivan Nilsson is no longer a Porto player. We sold him for nearly 90 million to Liverpool. Foolish Liverpool. Now what we do is very simple. This is the preferred formation, but the youth are using a 4-3-3. What I do now for football manager is slightly different from what I used to do previously. Previously, under 19 player got potential. I promote him to the senior squad and play him as many games as possible. Now, I don't do it. Instead, what I do is I add his name to the starting 11 of the main team without moving him. so that he is available for the game, right? But I do this as early as I can. I will do it immediately after a match is over and I start planning for the next match. I add his name straight away. That way, he's available. This way, we can develop the youth players. Or sometimes what I like to do, and I know some of you might laugh, is I like to throw myself into the full immersion of the game. I will go and watch a youth match, sit in the stands, then imagine to myself, oh, that boy is doing well. I'm going to have him play in the senior team next week. So put his name on the call sheet. So that's why I imagine I'm telling that to my assistant manager and then done. So he takes his name down and then we bring the boy in. The boy is like nervous, laces his shoes, and I put my arms around the boy. Don't worry, son. Just go out there, have fun, all right? Boom. That's what I like to do. And just the thing about youth development safes, they are a labor of love. You've got to, there's a lot of attention to detail. You got to be paying attention. It's not easy to do because you got so many players that you could possibly want to introduce into the main team and you've got to juggle them. But I hope that what I've done on today's show, sharing with you basically what's happened in the first season with Porto, I hope that helps. And if you have any questions, you guys know where to find me, right? So please take care of yourselves. If you have any issues with youth development, please look me up. Meanwhile, stay safe, take care of each other. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.